Spin City, Spin City. Spin City on the screen, Spin City on the screen. Breaking news, panel smoke, then he does it again. The day does it again. The debauchery is out. He said the debauchery out, and he don't back out, and he don't back right. Chat explode, chat explode. He takes the road, he talks and he takes the road. He talks and it's all. Other guys talking, they already there. Talking, they already there. Here he comes, hands in the air, the bird in the air. No more income, no more shades, no more shades. Place it out in the whole place. Spin City, Spin City. He don't play it safe, he don't play it safe. Spin City, Spin City. Bring fire to the face. Nigga on the mic, and nigga on the mic. What he needs, what he needs. Getting up the scene. Panels in a circle, everybody wants a turn. He leans in hard, let the hot takes burn. Hard chest on the takeaway, in the thread. He talks over the chaos with a raised up head. Wiggle louder, the point land clean. Through the noise like a headlight machine. They come for the room, she comes right to the room. He comes right in the hall, feet swap back. Here he comes, hands in the air, let the bird in come. No more income, no more shades. Spin City live in the whole place waves. Spin City, Spin City. He don't play it safe, he don't play it safe. Spin City, Spin City. Bringing fire to the face. Nigga on the mic, and he says what he needs. Getting up the scene. When the mics get hot and the mix get hot, he limits at the noise and he calls it loud. When he go around, let the sparks go wild. Spin City standing on our right, City standing on our right side. Spin City, Spin City. He don't play it safe, he don't play it safe. Bringing fire to the face. Nigga on the mic, and he says what he needs. Getting up the scene.
Three individuals, three detainees that were in one of our detention vans were struck by the sniper. The sniper thought that, you know, he was striking a van with our employees, but he actually hit three of our detainees. There was 10 others in that vehicle. At the time, we did have help from some of our other partners, federal partners. So, you know, I do want to thank that help. And we had HSI, ICE HSI, we had FBI, FPS, we had the Department of War, we had Texas DPS, and then I'd like to thank Dallas PD for responding. You know, I remember getting here in the morning, you know, witnessing our officers go to action and helping the individuals that were wounded with gunshots. You know, they were treating to them. They were taking them to the ambulances so that they can be rushed to the hospital. And, you know, at the same time, we still didn't know if there was still an active shooter, if there was only one shooter, if there was another suspect that we weren't aware of. You know, I do want to thank Dallas PD for having their SWAT team arrived here. Their SWAT team cleared our office, our whole building, and they assisted with the aftermath. Now, you know, the aftermath, it took us a while back to get this office back into the shape that it is right now. You know, there was a lot of windows that were shot at. We have 15 windows in the back. 7 of those were shot at with multiple rounds. So you could see there's that frame there was up on a wall. Shot went through a window, went through a wall, and then hit that frame and that glass. It went through, and then it was embedded into like the middle of our office. So there was a lot of carnage, but you know, we overcame that, and you know, I'm proud of You know, I'm proud to be here in Dallas doing the work that I'm doing. And I'm proud of the team that we have that goes out there every day to do the work that they're doing. You know, I'd like to say that there were many forms of heroism that day. Today, I am honored and proud to welcome Department of Homeland Security Secretary Markwayne Mullin, who is here to recognize 3 of these, you know, heroes. I know he said, you know, the best of the best, and that's correct. I'll go ahead and I'll start off with recognizing Deportation Officer Andres Goche. Dio Goche demonstrated extraordinary courage during the active shooter incident, making the initial 911 call and providing critical information. He risked his safety to extract multiple detainees from a transport van under fire, enabling them to receive life-saving care and stabilizing them until advanced medical help arrived. Andres Goche. All right. Deportation Officer Marco Solis. Dio Solis responded under active threat, administering life-saving first aid to 2 critically injured detainees. He conducted immediate trauma assessments, provided emergency care, and coordinated with responders to ensure safe casualty movement. Marco Solis.
I was worried that wasn't going to fit on me.
Enforcement and Removal Assistant Christopher Pine. ERA Pine administered life-saving first aid to 2 detainees, establishing a casualty care area under duress. He provided direct emergency interventions, coordinated with responders, and sustained patient stability until transfer, directly contributing to the preservation of life. ERA Christopher Pine. And now I'll pass it on. I'll introduce Congressman Brandon Gill.
Thank you. And first of all, I want to thank Secretary Mullin for taking the time to come out to Dallas and to these genuine heroes for our country and everything that they've been doing. You know, ICE and Border Patrol are on the front lines of not only defending American sovereignty, but keeping our communities safe and ensuring that murderers and rapists and gangbangers are not running loose within our neighborhoods. These are the guys who are making sure that America stays America, that it is a place where we can raise our kids safely and in communities that are conducive to American flourishing. And we're so thankful for the work you guys have done. You know, over the past several months, we've heard increasingly, really the past year, we've heard increasingly deranged rhetoric from the other side of the aisle. And I hear it every single day in Washington. I know you guys feel the impacts of that, referring to ICE and Border Patrol as Nazis, as the Gestapo, and far, far worse. And eventually some lunatic is going to hear that and believe that they are the next Dietrich Bonhoeffer and act on that rhetoric. And that's exactly what happened here. That's the kind of stuff that we are sick of, that makes your lives more dangerous and puts America at risk. These, as it happens, the same people spewing this rhetoric are the same people who are holding up funding for ICE and for Border Patrol. They're given a binary choice. They can either fund ICE and Border Patrol, or on the other hand, make your jobs more dangerous. And Democrats have routinely, for the past several weeks, chosen the latter. So what I'd like to do is say thank you guys so much for the work that y'all are doing here to keep this country safe, to keep our border secure. You guys are true heroes, and we appreciate it. And thank you, Secretary Mullin. And of course, we're thankful to the Trump administration for fulfilling their promise to keep our country safe.
Thank you, Brandon. And I want to point out again that, while we focus daily on getting the worst out the worst, or worst of the worst, we're definitely celebrating the best of the best. And it's frustrating to me when you hear the rhetoric of the left, and they're demonizing law enforcement for simply doing their job. And I like to point out that you see the individuals behind me. They're willing to run in and risk their lives for those that were under their protection. Those that the left want to demonize them for arresting because they broke our nation's laws. These three and many others were willing to run towards the gunfire, put their life at risk, put their families at risk of losing their loved ones. And I point out all the time that I guarantee you their family loves them as much as my family loves me, except they are here every single day upholding the standard of law that puts their lives at danger, and they're willing to do their job, in some cases for free, because the Democrats are still not wanting to pay them. And they haven't missed a day. They continue to show up. They continue to do their job. They're continuing enforcing the nation's laws. And as secretary for the last 8 weeks, I've never heard them complain. And that's why I say I'm honored to be the secretary over, I think, the greatest group of federal employees, period. They're literally willing to do their job for free, and that's protect my yard, protect your backyard, and protect our homeland. And so, guys, thank you once again for doing that. You represent what we know is true, but unfortunately, the American people, sometimes all they hear is the rhetoric of the left. And I'll tell you, truly, I pray for you guys. I pray for your family, and I mean this sincerely. Love you. Thank you so much for what you do. With that, I'll stop, and we'll open it for questions. I'm going to ask Brandon to join me up here too, the congressman that really overdressed for this meeting, but it's okay. I mean, I appreciate it. You look good. I mean, I told somebody one time that, the difference between my suit and your suit is when I'm wearing a suit, I make the suit look good. This suit makes you look good. I'm just playing. So let's open up for questions, and we'll be willing to fill anything you have.
Secretary Mullin, Brooke
Yes.
Miller with
Yes.
Fox News. We see what's going on in Newark with Delaney
Yes.
Hall. One officer was just bit in the arm. Then you had another young agitator who was just arrested for telling the officer he's going to kill him and his family.
That's right.
What are you specifically doing to protect these ICE officers who are just trying to do their job?
Well, first of all, we have zero tolerance. The president and I have talked about this. If you verbally assault our officers, if you attack our vehicles, if you attack our property, you attack the person themselves, we will arrest you. We have absolutely zero issue with you exercising your First Amendment in a peaceful protest. But when you're threatening the lives of an officer, that's verbal assault. When you threaten the lives of their family, that's verbal assault. When you spit on an officer, when you put hands on an officer, when you touch our vehicles, that is assaulting federal property and assaulting a federal officer. And we have zero Zero tolerance. We will arrest you. What I think the best thing that's happened at the detention center in New Jersey right now is the fact that state police finally was able to respond when the Governor Sherrill, allowed them to. And it wasn't that state police and local law enforcement didn't want to help. They just were told not to help. We see over and over again in these sanctuary cities and sanctuary states where law enforcement officers, they want to do their job. That's why they signed up to do their job. But so often you have radical left leadership that doesn't allow them to do so. But when they did show up, they quickly realized these aren't peaceful protesters that the radical left politicians were telling you about. These were individuals that were well organized. We've arrested individuals that came in from Portland, not from New Jersey, came from Portland to lead. We've seen that they've been well supplied. We've seen Antifa flags being flown. And once the state police came out, and which, by the way, awesome group of guys, they understand crowd control very well. And they started pushing the individuals back after they warned them, started making arrests. You saw that the situation quickly got under control. And for us, when we first started calling, they were simply saying they didn't have the resources. And it's interesting to me that they finally found the resources and started clearing their streets. We can control our building. We can provide security for our own building. But if the city and state streets, that is their job to do. However, we will do it if we have to protect our employees, to protect the detainees coming in and out, and protecting the property if required to. But right now we have great cooperation, and we hope that continues.
And last question, your message to young men and women who might see what's going on and they decide they don't want to enter this force and become an ICE officer because of all the hatred and violence that comes along with it.
Right now, our recruiting numbers are pretty strong. Regardless of what the left it likes to say out there, people want to join this mission. It's the greatest mission, period, and it's to protect our homeland. And so regardless of the rhetoric, young men and young women, men and women from other law enforcement is coming in and joining. We're providing the training. We're providing the resources they need to do their job, and we're going to continue to do so. And as I said before, as Secretary of Homeland, it's my greatest honor to be able to represent them. And we want to thank them every single day for doing the job that they do.
Secretary Marissa Adamas with CBS News Texas. Just curious what you have to say to the families of the victims. I mean, they died in the custody of the United States.
What victims are you referring to?
In the shooting.
Oh, to here? Okay, I first of all, it should have never happened. The rhetoric that the left continues to want to spew out leads to what Brandon said, the congressman said, to this type of reaction, because when you spew it enough, eventually you're going to get someone that's mentally unstable that's going to take those words literally and not realize that it's just political theater. It's just for them to get clicks and for their social media to maybe get some attention. I tell people that in political business, the people will hurt you a lot to gain themselves a little. And when the rhetoric we're hearing from the left put people's lives at risk, which has happened here, we're sorry. What we did as officers is we responded and did everything we could to save as many lives that we possibly could during that tragic day, but it should have never taken place. Yes.
You suggested that you're going to consider pulling CBP officers from airports you consider sanctuary jurisdictions. Is there any specific plan to do that in the works right now? And maybe
what I specifically said in New Jersey was since the state police and the local police says they don't have the resources to be able to respond, then we're going to have to get our resources from someplace else because we're going to protect our men and women that work for us. And if they're not willing to do that, then we're going to pull resources too. And to pull those resources, the closest resource we have is our CPB officers at the airport. We can flex with those individuals, bring them out. They're licensed officers. We can help provide perimeters, provide security, and then we can allow our SRT to be able to go out and start clearing the streets and doing crowd control. When that takes place, I have to make a decision on my resources, just like the governor and the mayor was making decisions based on their resources. And if we do that by pulling them out of processing flights going into international airports, we will do that because we have to have resources too. Keep in mind, we're still shut down. So our resources may not be where they should be, but our men and women are still showing up and doing their job.
Can this in place right now, or this is?
Right now, yes. Do we have a plan to initiate it? Yes, we have a plan to initiate it if required. We're not required to do it because the state is cooperating with us, and I hope the governor will continue to cooperate with us. The mayor has been very cordial to work with too. The chief of police has been very cordial, and as long as we continue to have this partnership with local and state law enforcement, then there will be no need to do so.
And to follow up on that, the transportation secretary has been critical of this plan. Have you spoken with him about
Actually, that's not accurate. The Secretary Duffy and I have been in communication on this. He understands. There was it was misreported out there saying that I was going to stop international flights from coming in, and I believe what he said is that I don't have the authority to do that. I don't, but I do have the authority to pull officers out if I have to. For especially for security purposes for other federal officers, because we use just like ICE can respond to airports when TSA was shut down and you saw ICE officers going in and helping process and helping with ground control. We flex with ICE officers at that time to the airport. When ICE is needing help, we can also flex with personnel that's at the airports, meaning the CBP officers, and bring them out to help ICE.
And one other question.
Yes.
Former Border Patrol official Gregory Levine has been critical, saying.
I never met the guy. I never met the guy.
What he said.
No, he's irrelevant to me. I don't know who he is. What else, guys?
Question about the World Cup.
Yes, sir.
How the preparations for going have been challenging, and we're watching a game here in Dallas for a couple of weeks.
Yeah. So FIFA is great. We have 9 games coming up here. Semifinals is going to be the last game. First game is going to be the June 14th against Japan and the Netherlands. Phenomenal facility. I mean, it's phenomenal. We just got in walking through the facility. We're doing all the preparations. We did get a little bit behind because the Democrats had a shutdown for 76 days. Plus, that's the 4th shutdown we've had in a year. This preparation has been going on for quite some time. We were behind on getting some federal grants out to local law enforcement, but I tell you, the work never stopped. This is what law enforcement does, regardless of the Democrats want to pay them or not. They continue to do their mission. They signed up to do a job because they were called to do it, not because they absolutely got into it for the pay. You'll see most officers aren't getting very wealthy. They're just providing a living, but they're willing to do their job for free. So even during the shutdown, preparation didn't stop. We have cooperation from federal agencies all through DHS and some through DOJ and through local and state. We have UAS technology going up. We have perimeters being pushed out. We're having the site being completely secured. So if you've had an opportunity to take a look at it, it's pretty impressive. And we repeat this, by the way, through 11 different cities. We're going to have 78 Super Bowls in 38 days here inside the United States. Super Bowl has around 250 million people that watch it. We're going to have 1.4 billion watching the FIFA games. And then we're going to have a little over between 5 and 7 international visitors to the United States. And we're going to be able to highlight the greatness of the United States along the way. So we're excited about it. A lot of preparation. The first game in the U.S. is the 12th, June 12th in L.A. We'll be there. And then for the next 38 days, I expect my wife is going to see very little of me.
Secretary, I know you keep saying.
Let me go over here. Go ahead. Sorry, I heard a question come up.
Last question.
Oh, okay.
Secretary, I know you keep saying the left, but what type of data do we have to support these claims on attacks on agents, and how are we tracking that across the country?
What do you mean data? If I talk about percentages, death threats on ICE agents went up over 8,000%. Vehicle assaults went up over 3,300%. We've had assault on officers have went up over 1,500%. So that's real data. And when you start talking about the left, we see everybody in this room that's watched the news, 5 minutes of the news anytime in the last year have heard the rhetoric that they keep spewing about our agents simply enforcing our nation's laws. And so you have to contribute that directly to what they're saying. When you see some of the activity that's going on, you see what the left is repeating, and then what you hear these crowds start chanting, you know it's coming directly from them. And it's very reckless on their behalf. They are literally spilling Americans' blood because of what they're saying. And there's no question about it. Every time an incident like this takes place, it is directly related to the hatred that they're doing for no other reason but to get some type of political attention, because they know that our officers that work within DHS and work across the nation, be it state, local, or federal, is enforcing our laws that these elected officials passed. They're doing it every single day, making sure that we get home safe, making sure even the ones that are spewing the most ridiculous and most hateful things, making sure those individuals still get home safe before they'll get home safe to their family. And that's why we should hold these individuals, not just the three here, but every single day we should be celebrating law enforcement, understanding the risks that they put their lives at every day to make sure we're able to walk our streets, drive our streets, and go to work and get home safe every day.
Are you considering having your wife designated as a special government
No.
employee? If so,
No, that's an absolute rag. That's lied absolutely about it. My wife doesn't want to be in the public eye at all.
Thank you, press.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Well, that was interesting. How you doing for the win? Thanks for coming up.
I'm doing good. I just got back, so nice timing on coming live here. So
Yeah, I'm good at timing, you know.
yeah, I believe that was his first press conference, right? As
I believe so, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. You know, this is crazy. I mean, you know, giving them Medal of Honor, I mean, that's nice of them. It's nice of them to do that, right? And here's the thing. The United States, since President Trump took office, he has given more medals of honor and valor and Purple Hearts than most presidents since I have been on this earth for 4 decades. And I did a cursory search, and what I'm saying is absolutely true. This man has done more for this country in the last, since he has been in this presidency, than a lot of presidents that I can remember. So I don't understand why people hate this man so much. I just don't get it. Are they jealous? Is the left jealous?
well, when they captured every institution, and 95% of our world is captured by them. I mean, you know, what else are you supposed to think if you're one of these people? You know, like it looks foreign, you know, what he's doing in a sense. So I don't blame them, but they're emboldened by the media at the same time, indoctrinating them and telling them lies. And, you know, how do you combat that? The only way you do that is with the truth of the matter. So
absolutely. Absolutely. And, you know, the chat is wild, man. The chat is wild. Anything that has to do with our government, anything that has to do with Trump, they are on it. They are on it.
Here's Chaz again. Trump only has a 30% approval rating. That's pathetic for a president. He's going to lose the midterms. You know, I mean, square that, Chaz. Square it, okay? Because last time I checked, every endorsement he's made, he's been right on, and he's 101-0 between congressmen, senators, governors.
Yeah.
You know, the media told you these things all along the way. They told us here in 2016 in Wisconsin that Hillary had a 10-point edge over him. Or excuse me, I think it was a 26-point edge over him. And he still won by 10 points is what it was.
Yeah. This is what I'm saying. I mean, it just gets wild. And you know, Chaz, I think it was Chaz said just a little bit ago that the whole world has lost respect for the United States. Well, I beg to differ. I beg to differ. What they're pissed off about, for the win, is we entered a conflict that we did not start to help an ally. And now we are the United States of Israel. Now we are unaliving things and people. Dwayna Q of Lurks over on pilled.net says Trump isn't running. Those polls are fake news. Well, I agree. I mean, look, we have to support our allies. That's nothing new. That's any presidency. That's any president. But should we do less for them? Probably. But the good-natured spirit of the United States precedes itself. I mean, it would be different. It would be different if, we didn't help our allies and we just expected them to come and help us if we needed it. But it just gets ridiculous after a while. Of all the propagandists, all the rhetoric pushers, and the hatred for this man. It's pathetic.
I mean, I see the same meltdown again in the chat. I mean, I can argue each and every one of these points that you guys want to say right now. I mean, it's funny. It's just crazy because
you want to argue some? Tell me which ones they are. We can sit here and argue with them.
Let's do it. Let me scroll back up here.
Wait. Hold on a minute. Here we go again.
We can start with the Epstein files. Great.
Yeah, let's start with that one.
Yeah, okay. Say we go ahead and release them, and I do believe that they will be 100% all released one day. The question simply is the timing. Say we go and release them tomorrow, what's going to happen in the world?
What's it going to do? It's still going to vindicate.
It'll completely create anarchy, chaos, everything, everywhere. Yep. We still have eyes on the prize. There are still so many things that need to be accomplished.
Yep.
You do that now, you just won't get there.
Absolutely. Kevin's Chaotic Coffee. Welcome, sir. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, the diversity hire has entered the chat. What's up?
Yes. Diversity hire. We're responding to the chats, Kevin.
Yes.
The first one that we picked just had come in, the Epstein files, release the Epstein files. Well, see, here's the thing. What is it? Over 3 million of the Epstein files were released, and yeah, Trump's name is in there, but it hasn't said that he's done it. It pretty much says he hasn't done anything. We're worried about emails, correspondences, maybe in a birthday card that was sent. Oh my God.
I mean, I encourage everyone to go and pick up Trump's book, Letters to Trump.
Yeah. I mean,
there are no pictures in this thing. These are letters. People write words to each other. They don't draw things. Like that's cute. That's great. It's just not true.
Has any of the so-called victims, and I'm going to say so-called because I don't know for certain if these people are victims anymore, because I'm beginning to think that some of these people are cover-up actors and the real victims are dead, quite frankly.
Could be.
I'm beginning to think, because have any of these people named any names? Have we had any names?
Nope.
Other than a prince or a king or like whatever happened in England with whatever the hell royal inbred BS. We are on YouTube, aren't we?
Yep.
Okay, my language is sanitized. Okay. I am beginning to wonder, conspiracy me this, if these people who are being paraded around in the news and for our viewing pleasure, I'm beginning to wonder if they're not actors themselves and that the real victims have long since passed away.
It's possible.
Or if they're just simply covering for the current victims who are still being trafficked at this moment. Because I look at the Epstein files while people want to focus just on, President Trump and such. And I think to myself, this is a global trafficking situation, which means that there are at least hundreds of Johns and Janes who are purchasing these services, which means that there have got to be hundreds of thousands of victims, because you don't just rotate and keep on recycling, especially when you have people who have fetishes for certain age brackets and such. People have a thing called aging, which means that eventually you age out of whatever marketing aspects you were put into, like with or without your approval, which means someone has to take your place. As someone who has worked in the adult entertainment industry, I know all about the freaking aging out of certain things, starting as, let's say, a stripper at some dive bar, and then moving on up to a stripper in a much better venue, moving on up into freaking becoming an escort, and then working through the drag circuit, and then the whole recruitment process that happens by the time that you are the age of 26. Now you're the one who's in charge of, or you're being put out there to go and recruit the fresh 18-year-olds. So, and that's at a small city scale level in Austin, Texas.
Sure. So
talk to me about global things, and let's focus just on one person instead of looking at the actual system of trafficking. Let's continue to be distracted by the drama of the one person they want us to focus on, and let's just dismiss the very nature of the trafficking machine. Do I make sense?
You make absolute sense to me. For the win.
That's probably.
It's the same exact thing. You hit the nail right on the head, Kevin, where a lot of these quote unquote victims, I mean, they went through that very circuit. They became the traffickers themselves.
Yes. I would be naming names and I don't care. I would not care. I'd be like, oh, okay, so I might die. At least I would die for a freaking cause, which was the righteous cause.
Exactly.
You know what I look at this? Okay, now, can I say WHORE on this channel?
You just did. Go ahead.
Okay. I'd rather die a martyr than a whore.
There you go.
Okay.
I would rather pass away knowing that I may or may not have helped somebody in my life than to pass away and have done no good for anyone. And I am saying up and included to my children or my family.
And that's what I don't get about these people. It's like, they're like, oh, we're victims. Oh, we've been victimized and everything like that. It's like, well, you're not alone. So while you're standing in front of the camera doing all your freaking theatrics, other people are still being harmed, and you're not saying a darn thing.
Nope.
To prevent any of the future harms. You're just saying, we need awareness. We need awareness. It's like, yes, and I need a Tide Pod for my freaking washing machine.
Exactly. Howard says some people think or say Trump died in 2024, and this is a double. I have actually heard that. I've actually heard it. So Howard's not wrong. Here we go.
I don't think that's the case whatsoever. But if there was a time in history where I questioned things, was after January 6th, and in between that and Inauguration Day, there was a couple of videos that Trump put out from the White House where I questioned him, like, is that him? I did have an inkling about that back then, but this is the same man.
Absolutely.
You can't replicate him on stage. There's
no, you can't.
No.
502 Outlaw says, let's talk about the trillions of dollars the left has stolen from USAID and the NGOs. Any thoughts, gentlemen?
Oh
Let's
my
see.
God. When
US
that go for it, Kev. Sorry.
Get him,
Fine. I
Kev.
want to say good afternoon, by the way, for the win, and good afternoon, Angry American. And
Good afternoon, sir. Thanks for joining this chaotic event. No pun intended.
Absolutely, absolutely. As far as USAID, I'm not going to speak too much on the NGOs because that's vast. For USAID, let's look at the actual acronym of what that is. That's for development of an international development group. So when we talk about the left, are we talking about the Marxist, socialist, communist aspects at a global level, or are we speaking about them as a CONUS issue for the continental United States? One would have to possibly parse it down before one could answer that. I believe there are factions of what is considered the left, especially with the more radicalized versions, as I've said, with the socialists, the Marxists, the communists, who have definitely taken advantage of this through venues and misappropriations and certain 501c3. Just kind of shell companies within, what do you call that? Shell companies within, what is it called?
It's called a pyramid scheme.
Well, to some degree, yes.
Well, wait a minute, Kevin. Let's identify why I call it a pyramid scheme. You've got the main holder, and then you've got the branches, and those ones branch out even more. Hence the Democratic Socialists of America.
Go on, yeah.
So you've got the hub, right? Whether it be the teachers union, whatever the case may be. The teachers union branches out into, let's buy, we need donations to buy these books.
That would be the librarians.
The librarians
librarian unions
branch out into the unions. Ask the unions to have their donors donate XYZ 1, 2, 3. Then those donors run out of money. They get a whole other set of donors under a different 501c3 or through their own companies. So it's a pyramid. It starts with one and branches out, and the tree becomes a fern, and then it becomes a grand oak.
Yeah, I don't disagree with the picture you're painting. I'm looking at the purpose of USAID was for international development.
Correct.
Who is to say that the very nature of USAID isn't to tear down what it has once helped build up? Who's to say that one of the functions of USAID isn't to overthrow the very government of which it purports to represent? Because who is the master of USAID? Who actually runs the joint?
I don't think I could give you any concrete proof who actually runs it.
See, I think the issue is that we run under a lot of presumptions just because of the way that words are used. You say US, you think United States. Well, anyone can write that. Anyone can use those words.
Absolutely.
So that's where my thought is.
But Kevin, let me say this, and then we'll move on to the For the Win, and then we've got Miss Arya Moon up here as well. Good evening, ma'am, or good afternoon still. Ma'am, how are you today? What say you?
It is hot, it is dry, but you know what? We are here and dealing with stupid people as usual.
Of course, this is what happens. This is what happens whenever Spin City News goes live.
You know, I somewhat blame the weather because it is warmed up, and that's when all of the crazies come out of the cracks.
Oh yes, absolutely. Let me give you this thought. Let me give you this thought, Kevin, and For the Win and Moon.
Hmm.
502 says the CIA, let me bring it up. The CIA owns or is the main hub of USAID. Well, or it was, because I believe USAID is gone, correct? It's
Yeah,
gone.
it's disbanded. Can you hear me?
Yep. We can
Okay,
hear you.
cool. Yeah. USAID has been disbanded, but the CIA operates as like this shadow agency all over the globe. So when you have money that is intended for USAID and developmental purposes, it goes to those places, and then the CIA uses it in other ways. And some of those ways are money laundering, and it comes back to the very people in our Congress that appropriated the money to begin with.
Correct. So my thought is, well, first of all, I would like to know where all the money went or where all the money is that was propagated or given to USAID. And secondly, what I would like to know is why they think that this is such a hot topic. And how can we correlate it back to the Epstein files? I cannot make a connection, period, of Trump and the Epstein files, and then we have USAID that was funding programs internationally, by the way, that in all rights, in my own mind, we should never have been funding to begin with. Transgender Sesame Street, sex changes in Uganda. That was part of USAID.
And that's just one entity. I mean, how about USIP, the United States Institute of Peace?
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Being an American independent
let's save
nonprofit national institute established and funded by the Congress and tasked with promoting conflict resolution and prevention worldwide. I'm sorry, what's the State Department's job then?
Okay, and let's take this one thing further. Save the Amazon rainforests. Mooney, I know you have a comment on that one. I know you do. You're muted, rookie.
So I actually do. This is hard. I don't support the people that are doing this. I support, saving things, what have you.
But save the rainforests and fucking the Amazon? What the fuck do we have to do with the Amazon rainforest?
No, we don't. I mean,
exactly my point.
And that's where all these outside things are being brought in to distract. All of these things that are happening are distraction tactics. Look over here. Let's focus over here while we do shit here. We're going to do some sketchy shit here, but we're going to talk about saving the rainforest and saving the lobsters and saving the shrimp and making it better. And we're going to put out all these commercials of all these starving children and how poverty is so bad. We're going to focus on this so you don't pay attention on what's really going on.
For
and then we're going to drop
a day.
We're going to drop
provide a meal for the starving children in China.
And then we're going to drop this bombshell on you of all this information, but we're going to redact a bunch of it. So then we allow all this arguing, all this fighting. We're going to blame this person. We're going to focus on this one person's name or this royal person's name. We're going to sit here and we're going to focus on that. As far as the files are concerned, even if they release the full unredacted, unfiltered, undoctored files in their entirety, they would still argue that it's fake, that it's been altered, that there's confusion in, the victims, because of who released it. There's no happy medium. There's no one going to be super expected that everything's going to be true. Government lies, people lie, everybody lies. but it's the concept behind it that they're angry because of who is doing it. If there was another person, let's say a Democrat turned Republican, ran for office, got elected, was in office, doing the same ass sketchy shit that the left has gotten away with for years, they would argue that they're being radical, that they're overstepping, that they're doing all these things to make bad decisions. They're never going to be happy.
No, nobody's going to be happy. And 502 Outlaw says, yes, originally those programs were used for that. It just became a way to siphon off money. Okay. Well,
And to
I
that
would
point,
like to know. Go ahead for the win.
To that point, they are the masters of namesake. Take the Inflation Reduction Act. It sounds good on its face, but it didn't do exactly what the title is. And when you dig deeper into all these things, it's like Save the Rainforest. Oh, that's a great cause. That sounds good. When you dig deeper into all these things, there's just more bullshit inside of it than the original actual cause ended up being.
Yep.
Hannibal Lecter says, Edward Bernays, father of advertising and nephew of Sigmund Freud, said PR is the polite face of propaganda. And to disseminate that propaganda, you require a medium. The plural of medium is media. Any thoughts? Kevin?
Well, I'm stuck
Our
on
resident
Freud.
intelligist?
Oh, you give me too much of a weight. I'm stuck on Freud now. I'm considering the psychosexual aspects and how it might have affected his nephew. Can we have Young, please, for 200?
Young, absolutely. Walmart.
Let's see, though.
Go
Let's
ahead.
see, though.
We'll finish that.
Edward Bernays, father of advertising and nephew of Sigmund Freud. PR is the polite face of propaganda. Well, propaganda can be any information, which is disseminated. So then, disseminate the propaganda, you require a medium of media, plural is media. Well, those are the people. The people, the printed page. These days, it can be something that is created from silicone and possibly quantum matter. So who knows what we're getting these days?
Right?
Oh,
Hannibal Lecter says Walmart received $7.1 billion in government subsidies annually. 6.2 because of the piss poor wages they pay staff. Their profits for 2025 was an estimated 170 billion, up 7% from 2024.
I have a very snarky response to that.
Say it.
Well, whose fault is that? Consumers. Whose fault is that? I was perfectly happy with mom and pop shops before Walmart came to my small town back in like the 1980s or like what have you. You know, having like walked on this planet for over 5 decades. Things cost a bit more. Things last forever. Okay?
Absolutely.
You go and you bring in a bunch of cheap goods which don't last but maybe a few cycles, and then you need to replace them because of we can say enshittification, can't we?
Sure.
Because of the enshittification, which we all became used to. Well, not all of us became used to. I'm still upset. I think I have a right to be. It's my wealth that if I want to replace something that breaks because it was a shoddy product to begin with, and I don't have a manufacturer to provide me the high quality version, which I was accustomed to in my upbringing, and I choose to buy shoddy stuff that breaks, that's my problem. Is it your problem? Is it your problem? Is it your problem? People out there in the audience, did you contribute to this mess? Maybe you did, maybe you didn't. But it's the consumer. We made poor choices.
God's favorite aunt comes in and says quantum matter such as what? I don't even know.
Bosons, mesons, quarks, qubits. Aunt, where are you, by the way, Aunt? Why aren't you here?
Also, Kevin, if you were afraid to say homie copying ladies of the night, In the South, I learned living there for 12 years. I learned we call them hussies.
I like that. Doxies, hussies, and strumpets. Okay. Yes.
Let's see.
And to the point of the cheap goods, Moon, you said it's hot, right? You know, if we want to stay cool, let's say you want to go on Amazon here and you want to buy a fan for yourself. I'm just looking up some brands here. There's the Lasco brand. I'm sure you guys have heard of Lasco or Vornado. But then you see all these other brands like Levoyet, Dreo, or let's see. Oh, Zuzu, Ovalame, Winado. You're like, what the fuck is this? It's all these Chinese knockoffs of shit. And you look at the prices, you're like, well, that's considerably cheaper than a Lasco or a Honeywell. I'll buy this thing. And where does that come from and manufactured? It's China.
Mm-hmm.
Kevin, I believe that's to you, sir.
And then you look at things like Westinghouse, which used to be the pinnacle of technology of housewares. Hasn't Westinghouse itself been purchased by some over the seas? And then, what is it? Is it China who now owns Westinghouse?
Yes.
They are a huge company. They have over, I think, 120 different brands.
And their brands have become crap. And there's Ant right there. I love Ant.
Hello, Mr. God's favorite Ant. Good to see you, sir. What say you, sir?
On what I lost a little bit of the conversation when I was switching over.
Your question to Kevin.
Oh, well, I was just kind of teasing him because he was talking about quantum matter. And I'm like, okay, but that's not really specific. What are you talking about? Mesons, quarks?
It depends on what you're observing, Ant. I mean, are you observing one of them right now?
Not directly.
Okay. Let's do some indirect observation. Okay.
I mean, I don't have the setup to do the double slit experiment or anything like that. So
you have the scissors, don't you?
Oh shit!
Actually, my house, I'm lucky if I can find a damn pair of scissors.
Oh. No.
My God, that's not the thing I thought was going to be a commodity in the home.
I did buy once a cheap pair of scissors and they freaking broke right away too. I'm like, where are my Fiskars? Give me my Fiskars back, damn it.
And now Walmart has 7.6 billion in our tax dollars to take care because they can't pay their employees because we buy cheap shit.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and what they say, when one Walmart comes into a city, it does X amount to the mom and pops. You bring in a second Walmart in, it completely destroys everything of Main Street America, plain and simple, when you have that second store in there now. So
here's the thing. You might have to go to an antique store, but you could also look at thrift stores. You find a pair of them old, like iron shears. You can keep those things sharp forever, and they'll survive anything as long as you take care of them.
And have you noticed where those iron shears are located now in Goodwill's, Arcs Value Village, and all those other thrift shops? Now they've got special display cases where you need to call an employee to unlock the good stuff. Yeah.
That doesn't surprise me. It's unfortunate, but not surprising.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
that's all Walmart is now.
Speaking of cheap products.
Well, look, it became like so you have these incidents. I'm sorry. I apologize.
It's okay. Speaking of cheap products, I went to Big Lots when they were a thing, and I bought this $65 knife block. And, I do a lot of, trimming meat and stuff like that. I've had the same knife block for 10 years, and all I do is take the steel and I resharpen them. It takes about 30 seconds. And it is as razor sharp if not even sharper, that they come out of the store. So I can't say that I bought I did buy a cheap product, but that cheap product they say is a throwaway, right?
Yep.
When they get dull, throw them away, go buy another one. Well, that in itself is saying our product is shit, but buy it again so we can make more money. So when I sit here and think that Walmart's financial jacket is higher the next year, it goes to the fact that we're rebuying the same shit fucking product to replace it 6 months after you buy it. That is sheer capitalism.
Mm,
In
no.
a convoluted sense way of
because
thinking.
look who's
I'd say
making all
that's-
this stuff. It's not a capitalist nation that's making all this crap.
Would you
I'd say
consider China a capitalistic country?
They're
predatory
mixed.
capitalist.
They're
Maybe
they
predatory. Oh,
they
sorry.
call them, you know, they are a socialist country, but thanks to Deng's market reforms in 1978, they moved to a more liberalized economy. It's still a command economy, but they do have mechanisms for private business ownership and whatnot.
Okay.
And that's what basically kept
So
Maoist China from collapsing on itself, because they were in
Okay.
bad shape before that.
Right. So I go back to my original statement. The knife block that I bought was Chinese made.
Mm-hmm.
They say throw it away, buy another one. Is China capitalizing on something that we would consider a throwaway item?
I think
think
you're
they-
misusing the
question,
term,
isn't it?
Well, I just think you're trying to
No,
use
I'm
that
not
term
convoluting
capitalize
it,
to
Ian.
attach it to capitalism, but we're not talking about just simple, you know, free market, property rights, et cetera, et cetera. We're
Okay.
talking about a nation exploiting our open markets to just dump cheap shit into it.
What do you think China's doing?
That's what I
That's
just
where
said.
I'm
That would-
going with it.
That would be it right there. What Ant, like one of the words that Ant just used was exploit.
Mhm.
So in my take, the China business model would be exploiting people's inability and or ignorance to not be able to repurpose, reuse, or repair.
Well, they also just manufacture it so cheaply that it doesn't become, it's no longer economical to recycle and repair.
Okay, I'm going to go back to my analogy that I keep sharpening the same knives that I bought 10 years ago.
Right.
If I was like,
I'm not defending the practice. I'm just
no.
describing
I'm
it.
not saying you are, Ian. I'm not saying you are. But let me land what I'm going to say, and it will, and it points back to China is capitalizing on our everyday products that we throw away because it won't cut through a tomato. Instead of taking the time to pull that nice little steel bar that has ridges and whatever else in it, taking the knife, going 3 or 4 times on each side, and it's as sharp as it was, or if even sharper. What they want you to do is throw that shit away
Mhm.
and go buy a new one.
Yep.
So in basic capitalistic principles, I'm going to throw that knife away, so I need to go back out and buy the same one because at one time it cut
What
like we wanted.
capitalistic principle is that exercising?
What? I didn't hear you, Ant. I'm sorry.
What capitalistic principle are they exercising?
If a knife costs $2 and it is manufactured for 2 cents, are they capitalizing on your stupidity, or are they capitalizing on your grace to buy the same product over and over and over again?
Well, prices are subjective, basically, because it's whatever people are willing to pay. The more of a margin I can make off of my product based off what it costs versus what you're willing to pay is better for me. But eventually, competition will push that more towards a more marginal return, because that discrepancy is going to be just too attractive to competition to just let stand.
And to the note of competition, I come from a capitalist stance where reputation is prized above so much more, because without reputation, you can't build wealth.
Well, that's trust, yeah. for sure. And it goes back to caveat emptor.
So here's another way that they're capitalizing this. And I've noticed this because there are things that I have from like my grandmother that she got from her mother and things I've got from my parents, especially products, and they are still in use. I know that, but the younger generation does not know that. So the younger generation is going to see these things. Oh, it says so many uses, and then you got to throw it away and you got to go and buy a new one. So what we're used to is using something till it's damn near falling apart, nothing left, it's in pieces, and even when it's in pieces, we're going to find some redneck way of fixing it and repairing it and making it last even longer. Well, now consumers of the newer age, they don't do that. As soon as something starts acting wonky, starts breaking, they're going to want to throw it away. They're going to want to replace it with something brand new because they were not privileged enough to give those gifts of knowing that, redneck intuition was a real thing. So they're going to want to throw it away, buy something new, and then continue to complain about it, which is going to leave bad reviews, which is going to make them reword things. We improved our product, when in all reality, they didn't really make any improvements to it. They may have adjusted the prices a little bit, skipped on a few of the products, used something cheaper. But in reality, you're still continuing this vicious cycle of, I'm going to go out and but I'm going to continue to use this knife, but I'm going to use my brain and resharpen it versus going out and buying a new one because I'm not lazy. I'm not doing things the easy way. I'm doing things the hard way, the way that you used to do them. I've noticed that for the scissors conversation, how things were used to be made were more constructive, more able to last longer because the consumer wanted something that was going to last longer because money was harder to come. Now, in this day and age, we have more jobs. They're shit pay, but the ability for the consumer to go out and buy more is a lot easier than it was then. That's just my thinking.
Well, I want to welcome El Perro. El Perro, good afternoon, sir. Thanks for coming up. If you do have Discord, you can find me over on Discord at Spin City News. I'm not going to drop the link much just because it was not intended, but I saw you in the chat and I saw you wanted to come up. So absolutely, good friend. We might not agree on everything, but we agree on some. So El Perro, welcome to the panel, sir.
Thanks, because I have something right on your tails with the line thing. We have products being made here in America doing the same thing. What I have here is a knife.
Yep.
Nice little lock blade knife,
Sure.
But the interesting thing about this is it's got this little button right here.
Yep.
And what happens when you click that button is you can remove the blade.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah. So you have a blade, and they even come, like you said, just buy another one. So they supply it with blades.
Instead of, rather, to my point,
sharpening this one, which you can still do.
Exactly.
You can still sharpen this one.
Yes.
This is this is by Outdoor Edge.
Okay, that's a very good one. Yeah.
Yeah, but
just punch it into your search engine, Outdoor Edge with replaceable blades.
The nice thing about that too is if you get a chip or a notch in the blade, you don't have to replace the whole knife. You're just replacing that blade part. It's already replaceable.
But Ant, let me tell you something.
You can make your own blades for this.
Yes. This is what I'm saying.
For sure.
Ant,
that's a genius knife. I like it.
Let me explain something. I love my wife to death. I mean, everybody up here knows that I'm married, and I've been married a very long time. My wife, 32 fucking years later, still cannot use a knife properly. She chips it, she dulls it, and I know every time I go to the knife block that I've got to sharpen a knife, and that's fine, whatever. I'm going to allude to my statement again. It takes 30 seconds if you know what you're doing with that steel. There you go. There you go, Pero. This is exactly what I'm saying. If you know what you're doing with that steel and maybe even a leather strap, you can resharpen the physical product that you, or a knife that you bought. Now, let me say this as well. We live in the day of replacement therapy. Okay. And what I mean by replacement therapy, Kevin, I know, I see it in your eyes. The replacement therapy of, hey, honey, I bought a new knife set to replace the knives that are dull. Well, if people do not really know what they're doing, you can dull a knife the first time you use it. So what? The next day when you need to use that knife, you're going to go to Walmart or Costco or wherever and just buy another one and replace it, and it's automatically sharp? That's stupid. But again, I go back to my original statement. The companies that are making these things are capitalizing on your replacement therapy ideology. It's not sharp anymore, so I got to replace it. That's where I'm going with that.
But in his knife, you're just replacing a small section of it. That's a lot less wasteful than replacing the entire product.
Okay, so let me propose this little straw man to you. When he uses all those, yeah, steel man. When he reuses all those blades, guess what he's got to do? He's got to buy more.
And that's where what I said comes into it, where we used to take something and use it down to, it was almost gone. I've seen knives that my grandfather had, things that my grandfather had. The blade was dang near down to a needle thin, and he would not get rid of it until it was completely gone. He would say, there is no reason for me to replace this blade when I can sit there and resharpen it. There's no reason for me to replace this when I can fix it with this, or I'm going to try and fix it this way first before I go out and spend the money to buy a new one when I could have easily fixed something, sharpened it.
There you go.
He used replacement wire. So like when he did farming, when he had to make patches in his fence, he used old wire to help make patches to it instead of going out and buying brand new. Nowadays,
back in the day,
don't
though,
know how to do that.
Mooney, but back in the day when people actually respected the dollar and they had to save the dollar, they had the idea, well, if I have a piece of wire laying around, right, and it is aka long enough, no pun intended, or the right gauge, if you will, why do I have to pull the whole wire out of the wall to fix it? I can repair it, and it may or may not fix the problem. And hence, if we're talking about electrical wire,
it may or may not.
Like I am I am being as delicate as I fucking can.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, Kev.
So,
go ahead, Pero.
So also to the recycling and reuse or extended use, somebody mentioned when things get whittled down so far that you can no longer use them. What I've got here is what's called a ferro rod. Now, a lot of these ferro rods come in a metal case.
Yep.
So that you can only use one surface. Whereas if you got a grinder, you can grind off this end and slide that off and still have the rest of the ferro rod.
Sure.
So most people will strike it down till they can get no more strikes out of it and then throw it away. No, that's an excellent. That's still an excellent ferro rod in there. You just got to have the ability to just cut the outer shell off of this metal so you can get to the rest of the ferro rod. Most people are too lazy to do that, and they will throw this away. And that's only 10% of this ferro rod.
That and you know what? That is what I was going to allude to. It's the replacement therapy. No matter what you're replacing, that is the ideology of people.
Well, and that's a home and that's a homemade life here.
No, don't even respond. Don't even respond. I'm talking to Mooney. Kevin, go ahead. I'm talking to Mooney because I know exactly what that woman is thinking up there. So just be quiet.
I replaced all my razors with fire. I took a Bic lighter. A Bic lighter costs less than $1, and razors cost you damn much. I lift my arm up and I'm like, shh, and I just use fire. And I will tell you what, I don't have to buy deodorant because all you do is you burn all that hair up. It sterilizes everything. You go and shower off. And for 3 weeks, you will not have any BO in your armpits because that fire takes care of all that. You go down to your pubes and you pray and you light that shit on fire and you let that go. You take that fire wherever you need to take that fire. You use it on your face, try not to hit your eyes, all that stuff. You do not need a razor. So I'm just saying, this replacement therapy, I replaced it with arson.
How about no?
Well, Kevin, I'd recommend if you just get a water softener.
What?
Your blades, razor blades, stay clean. Like you just run it under the water, it just right off. I haven't replaced my blade on. I use a Gillette blade. I haven't replaced that one for 6 months already, and I shave with Ivory soap.
Okay, well, you can do soft water. You can do that. Okay, I live out in the country, so I don't know what my water is doing, but I will tell you this.
You can fix it even if you're in the country.
Yeah, you just need a filter.
I'm over 56 and I shave with fire, and I think I found one of the secrets to youth.
Okay, well.
Well, and
just saying.
I'll let you.
Let me talk about water real quick here too. Real quick, like, have you guys ever heard the term squeaky clean?
Yes.
Have you ever like used soap and like there's like it feels squeaky, you know, if like you rub it and there's like grit on you or whatever. Yeah, what that actually is the soap being left over in your pores because of the hard water. So they say rinse, lather, repeat. Well, because you have to use more soap and everything. So the point I'm just ultimately saying too with soft water is that you use like a little, just like a dab of soap. You get whatever oils out of your hair and whatnot, and then you do it again. You have more bubbles than you know what to do with. It's incredible. Like you have to fix things for them to work better. The same thing's true with water.
And then when it comes to this capitalist society that we have, and its indulgence, its overabundance, compared to Chinese socialist economy, what we have here today is a selection that says that you have the ability to have the best, but your selection contains 100 of the exact same item, and you get to choose which one's best. So you have 100 different types of shampoos, 100 different types of bar soaps. You don't have that in the socialist economy. You have a limitation that says if this isn't good enough for you, do it your own way. And that's what they do. They remain more holistic in their everyday life than a capitalist economy that is depending on other people to produce what they need.
That's because they're poor, not because they're industrious.
Well, I was just going to say, my proof is,
but it shows you where we're at in this American society compared to them. We are not nearly as healthy, nearly as intelligent. My God, we have a 8th grade reading comprehension as an average.
I would love to see where you're getting these stats from.
Well, how strong can a country be if they listen? The average American has an 8th grade reading comprehension. When you go into these legal forums and these capitalist forums, they're reading at 24th grade level. Guarantee you. They have a different grammar.
If you have a country with a lot of children and you average out like reading levels, what do you think is going to happen?
No, we're talking about adults. We're talking about adults. They've already had the opportunity to have that comprehension. We're not.
It's a
we're
mixed
not doing-
bag in this country for sure. But I don't really trust any numbers of the CCP
I-
either.
I
They've cooked
agree.
the books for
I
decades.
don't-
And it's like
I don't agree with numbers for any statistic, because we have to understand that the people that are entering into those statistics don't know what they're doing, and they're entering false data. I guarantee it.
I agree, but for different reasons. I have a problem with using statistics but not showing your data or your methodology.
There you go.
If
There you go.
Provide
I
those, I will
absolutely
have a
agree.
lot more confidence in the statistics you're displaying and interpreting. Otherwise, because if I disagree and I have your data, I can check it myself, because I can run the calculations and see if I come up with the same thing. So
if you're asking for an ideology that most commonly comes from men, but your subject group is women, you're not going to get a clear ideology. If that's not exposed, then people would tend to believe that information that you put out about a man's ideology would be absolutely true and correct, when in fact it cannot be, because it's based on women's ideology.
And I'm always really cautious when I see claims
Oh,
like something is
God.
2 or 3 times X, right? Because if you're talking about statistics, that kind of a discrepancy is either going to be for very small values, because like technically the difference between 1% and 4% is like 4 times as great. Sounds like a lot, but it's only a difference of 3%.
Right.
Kevin.
My bottom surgery just vomited all in my shorts over that comment.
I knew it was coming. I knew it.
Well, don't let
I
it.
said the
'cause
wrong
that-
thing. I'm sorry.
No,
No, it's not you, Ant. It's when he said that a man can't know what a woman is, or something about like not knowing the woman's state of being and approach. And I was like, but I'm just for comedy. I'm just saying. I mean,
and I don't.
Yeah.
And I don't ever say anything to be offensive. I do it as a realist. People think I'm
Oh,
being.
yeah.
I say these things to be hurtful. I'm not. I'm being as real as I can. That's why I wear this short mustache. I'm going to city council meeting tonight here in Waterloo, because they're trying to end the public comment of the city council meetings altogether. I'm going to go speak on it.
That's some horse shit. Good for you.
All right.
Can't do that.
Oh yeah, I remind him constantly here of Hitler's willing executioners, and I urge people to wake up to it. Hitler's willing executioners were the common, ordinary Germans. It wasn't the leaders; it was the common, ordinary Germans that instilled that dictatorship, and then turned around and allowed it to foment that ideology by accepting that ideology themselves and pushing it forward. Without
where
that,
are they trying to block? Where is it that they're trying to block public commentary?
Waterloo, Iowa, City Council.
Really? Huh.
They tried to do everything. And let me tell you why. And Alpero, give me a little bit of latitude. I'm not from Iowa, but what these lefty leaning states are trying to do is stop freedom of speech. They do not want you to comment on anything, because in their sick, twisted minds, they are right. Everybody else is wrong. Period. Nobody should have a say.
Yeah, and the imperative.
Go ahead, Peril.
And the imperative here to understand, as I've said many times, I love my freedom of expression. As a right to myself, individually, independently, singularly, that's a great right. But what we're talking about here is not me being dismissed from the podium, but everybody else's right to know what I have to say at that podium. That's the exponential right. Your right to know is so much greater than my right to say something. You have that right to know, and that's what they're hiding. Again, it goes to somebody mentioned somebody mentioned in the comments earlier about public education system. That's my biggest derivative. The public education system here is an indoctrination system. It does not educate you. Hannibal Lecter FYI 62 says, since the civil rights era, there have been around 80,000 new laws and legislations created to restrict American freedoms. And he is absolutely correct. And remember, the language there is correct as well. Anytime you bring in a regulation, it's a restriction. It is not an abundance of a broad spectrum. It restricts that broad spectrum and limits it. It is always a limitation.
You know, to this point with education, I had a customer a couple of years ago. He was about 20 years old, bought his first house, the house that the system was in. And I was done doing the service and everything. He wrote out a check. He filled out the numbers for the amount. And then he goes, "Could you fill in the words for me?" He didn't know how to write out the words on a check. 20 years old.
Yeah.
I don't need statistics to tell me that our education's horseshit. Like, that's
Nope.
case in point right there. Like, it's wild.
Absolutely correct. Hannibal lecturer, FYI 62 again says Smith Modernization Act of 2012 allows the State Department and Broadcasting Board of Governors to produce and disseminate material to the unsuspecting American people. Yes, it's an inducement. Remember, for the older folks should remember that at the end of the broadcasting day on TV, it said, "Thanks for watching our programming." And it's just like a computer. It's an input system, and it's inputting information into your minds. It is programming you.
Well, and that Smith month, that's exactly the reason why we have the problem with the mainstream media right now. You're allowed to lie to the populace. You can't have that. It's wild. It's just wild. But that's why Trump's here, and we're fixing things. So I'm happy with that.
You know, that's one of the biggest things about war is its propaganda tactics, and it comes straight from Sun Tzu, Art of War. Make your opponent think you're weak when you're strong, and make your opponent think you're strong when you're weak.
100%.
All of our children are coming out of school thinking they're strong.
But in all reality, children nowadays sadly cannot truly survive if shit hits the fan. They are so technological, like they have it. Yeah, they can't. For instance, I am raising my kids to learn to live off grid, but also to live how society is. That if shit does hit the fan, they are not completely lost on what to do. Oh, I can't make fire, I can't make shelter, I can't find food. No, they're going to know how. Because I wanted to tell them that technology is not guaranteed. Electricity is not guaranteed. We live in a storm-ridden area. A house is not guaranteed. I have taken my children, I have put them out in the woods, and I said, you survive for 24 hours. I gave them limited supplies. I taught them how to do everything. And they had to cook their own food on a fire that they made themselves. And they had to have the shelter that they built themselves. I made them do that so they could learn to not be so reliant on how things are. Students that they go to school with have no clue. They throw fits over losing their phone. They have no clue how to survive without their electric bicycle. They have no clue how to do any of this stuff. And I'm thinking in my head, you guys, the school system, the parents, the society is setting up our people for failure.
In my opinion, children that go through K through 12 come out dumber than what they went into school to begin with. Period. And I know that's going to get some haters in the chat, but you know what? At the end of the day, the fact of the matter is, what are we really teaching our children in school? Some might, disagree. We are teaching our children to survive in today's world with electronics, video games. But what they're really not learning is the history of the United States. And I'm just talking about the United States. They're not learning the fundamentals of everyday society. And I'm going to give you an example of that. Kevin, when's the last time you've used an algebraic equation?
I use it when I do recipes.
Okay.
I use it when I cook. I use algebra when I cook.
Okay. Would you say a measurement on a measuring cup and it's actually measured for you, et cetera, would you call that really using algebra?
I would call it, if you're taking X, like if your quantity is X and you need to multiply or divide it, then it would be a simplistic form of algebra.
Sure. It's simple, but it's simplified for you.
It's simplified by my brain because I learned the process.
Okay. To my last knowledge, home economics was not required in school.
That's unfortunate.
An elective. It's an elective.
That's unfortunate. Okay.
Right. So when I went to school, I had to take home economics, which included sewing, cooking, and rational realization of what you are going to run into in the world and how to give the basic fundamentals of life. Wood shop, metal shop, wood shop, metal shop.
Even if you're not expecting to like actually sew things, you should know what good stitching looks like. So when you're buying clothes, you're buying good quality clothes.
I agree. But is Tommy Hilfiger a good brand of clothes?
I don't know.
So take it as someone who has sewn her own clothes, who has taught people how to sew clothes, who has bought. I've had sisters who had the top range clothing. The clothing that I sewed myself lasted longer than the $200 pair of jeans that they went and bought.
That's my point.
Yeah, my mom used to sew clothes for herself, my brother and I. She also made her Halloween costumes from scratch. So I understand the value of good seamstress or tailor, whatever. Yeah, that's right.
Because what also people don't realize is that sewing has a multitude of ranges. You can take sewing and make, a shelter out of it. You can take sewing and you can make shoes out of it. You can fit in a multitude of. You can use a knot technique when you go fishing.
Oh yeah. That's the other thing. Does the school teach you how to catch your own food these days? Does school teach one how to survive in a troubled time?
In Wisconsin Rapids, Wisconsin, back in the 70s, we had a hunting club. They used to teach us how to hunt in high school.
Yeah, but nowadays it's not in school, or it is a selective class. So how mine are, they have an option. They have like 10 or 12 options that they get to choose of class types that they want to take that are not, they get to select. They are not part of the expected curriculum. Now, the expected curriculum is useful in many ways, but a lot of it is, to me, it is teaching you pointless things that you are not going to use in your day-to-day lives. There is parts of it that are useful, such as algebra is useful when it comes to cooking, when it comes to measuring out certain things. It does have a purpose, but not to the extent that they are teaching. They need to start acting and teaching reality. Yes, history is important. We need to learn it. but not for the whole 12 years you're in school. They need to start bringing in these things. And that's where, my youngest child, he took home economics and he thought it was point. I'm like, look, you may learn how to bake a cake, you may learn how to do things like this, but you can say that, hey, you know what? Me as a boy, I took, guess what? I know how to make a cake from scratch when you have to go to the store and you have to buy a cake mix. But I know how to do it from scratch.
And that is why I say the fundamentals of learning has been skewed by today's social economic practices. I've said that, and I'm with El Perro. Everybody knows I'm a fucking realist. If the tree is green, the fucking tree is green. If the bark is fucking brown, it's fucking brown. I just don't see the altered realityism, Howard. And nobody has given me the proofism that today's schools are really doing anything but costing the American taxpayer money at the end of the day.
To Howard's comment, I still get hand-me-downs from my nieces because they're growing up and I'm still the same size I was in high school, so I take their clothes.
I mean, Kevin, have you ever made a piece of clothing?
I'm gay. Of course I've made clothing.
Okay. So we've established that.
Yes.
God damn it, Kevin.
Well, damn.
But when you made your piece of clothing, it actually fit. Well, okay.
Sometimes I was over.
Retrospect,
yes.
In retrospect, it fit. How many times does one go to the store and try on something that is supposed to be their size, and it's really not? And I'm
quite often, I mean,
bloomers, whatever, or it just doesn't fit right.
It happens. That's why we have return policies at stores, because some people have a very fantasized version of what they think they look like, and then the fabric's like, no, that's not going to work.
Right. But if you made it yourself, you know how to alter it.
Yes. And yeah, including like t-shirts. Like, let's say today's medium is actually what we used to consider a large. So because I know how to sew, I can take a t-shirt like this, which I haven't tailored yet, and I can actually take this thing and tailor it to my body shape because I have that skill.
But go to Tommy Hilfiger with your sizes or your size, they're going to make it to what they think it is. It's not custom, is where I'm going with that.
No, it's not at all custom. No.
So can we custom tailor our education or our children's education to what reality really is?
We used to be able to do that because we had our, well, that's what I'm saying. It's like we used to be able to customize our education to the person's skills and aspirations. And it wasn't filled with, I mean, sure, we had things like art, like we had drama theater and a variety of different art programs to appeal to a person's sense of fantasy, wonder, and creativity. And at the same time, we focused on the core as the requirements. And then we had hundreds of electives. None of them were about like queer theory. Why does anyone need to know? I mean, it's like you can be odd without needing a class about how to be odd. You can just be unique without needing a class to validate your uniqueness. I mean, if you want a class about your personality, take a psych class. We don't need another class on top of a psych class to validate someone just for being different, because we're all different. There are so many classes which I think are a waste of time. Bruce and I, my husband and I, served on the Southwest High School board. And we pushed so hard to get shop classes back into the high school. We pushed so hard to get the classes from the 70s and 80s. Automotive. Why don't they have shop class anymore? I have no idea. It's like, do any of these, I mean, even with the new technology and auto, it's so much now. I mean, with donations.
Even if they just taught the basics, how to change your oil, how to check your fluids, how to know how to change a tire. There are so many nowadays who do not know how to change a tire.
And that's weird to me, because that was part of our driver's ed class.
You know what was weird to me?
Huh?
You know what was weird to me is that, and I grew up in foster care, so I ended up in public education system automatically, all the different parents and everything. But I only had the public education until I was 10 years old and I was adopted. Now, mind you, the two people that adopted me were in fact federal agents, but never mind that. I am not. And so in that, they continued to send me to the public education, but they also instituted that homeschooling. In other words, we had a whole library at home, so I didn't have to go to the library and depend on those books. I could come home and do my research with books at home. Encyclopedia Britannica, Encyclopedia, the entire collection. You got National Geographic, all kinds of different magazines that they subscribe to and everything, all part of the home library. Now, along with that, they also grew up at a time where they too learned that stuff, not in school, but from their parents. Mom learned how to cook and do all the house stuff. Dad learned how to do all the motors and mechanics and carpentry and everything. So they too turned that onto me and my two sisters and homeschooled us on that stuff: gardening, canning, everything, cooking. I mean, we used to listen to Tchaikovsky and all those classical musics on Saturday morning when we would open up the windows and go through and do a complete house cleaning. We all did our chores on Saturday together as a family, listening to that music, rocking it out into the neighborhood. That was my upbringing under that. And I think that is how the public education system should be used. I think people should remain in that responsibility of bringing their children up in the ways of the Lord by observing their natural world and what they need to subside in that, and have that public education system as a backup so that when new concepts and new math roll out, we can try to grasp it the best we can, or we can follow on that reason and logic that we already have in us.
And that is what makes you an enemy to this new system of Marxism, which is trying to make itself more than evident in our lives, because they do not want us to have that.
Yeah, I think we need to be much more autodidactic. Pink Floyd, Brick in the Wall, expresses this explicitly. We need to get out of those schools and learn how to learn ourselves and implement our own first experiences as the effects and results to make a better choice next time, or continue on and try again for a better result.
Okay, Kevin, I'm gonna be very tactful when I ask this question. You and your husband sat on a school board. Yes, I'm going to be very tactful because it's a very I know this, but we have to remember where we are. Right?
Okay.
On platforms, right?
Yes.
When you were on the school board, did of course you heard about those illicit books, if you will?
Not so much back then. That was around 2009. to 2015, those books were not as prevalent until after and around the time of 2020 when the whole
you know where I'm going to go with this question.
I think I might, but continue.
Would you say, or would you ought to say, one child or a child should be taught that ideology in a public school or a private school of learning?
I think from my own experience from having you're talking about you're talking about procreation education, correct? Are we allowed to say that?
Wait a minute. Open your pill DM a second.
Okay. Is there a specific phrase I need to use?
No. I want you to understand what I'm alluding to.
Oh.
Those
Okay. All right. We never touched on the possibility when I was younger of morphing from one gender to another. Okay. If you're talking about identity as far as gender expression, I do not believe that children should be guided through a scholastic system when it comes to that bent on psychology, because that is a very private and personal matter, which should be taken care of by the parent and the child, with the full understanding that I know an argument to this is that people will argue the parents may become abusive towards the child for not affirming that child's idea of what that child may be. And I get that.
Okay.
And that's why I stress the imperative that parents take back that teaching. Giving up that responsibility is the downfall. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. If you're not going to be a priest unto me, then I shall deny you. And if you cannot teach your children of me, then I must deny your children as well. It's the epitome.
Well, let me just say this, Kevin, and then I'll hand it back to you.
Okay.
My way of thinking about this is, and Pero, I'm gonna parrot you for just a second. We are giving the the hard conversations to the educators, because in our own irrational way of thinking, the educators have the more knowledge, if you know where I'm going with this. And they are supposed to be bipartisan, which I will allude very heavily on. Teachers that I know align with the ideology. So one might think a teacher that aligns with that ideology can explain it better than they can. And in retrospect, the parent is deferring to those teachers or educators, or maybe even friends, to have that conversation. But in my opinion, the truth on the matter is they're not explaining the potential, the potential difference of the opinions of others. They're not explaining that if they did this type of thing, there are potential medical problems associated with these ideologies.
I
and
can
I
tell
think I
you why.
skirted around everything pretty good there.
I can tell you why I'm against it, why I'm against the institutions teaching the children anything about gender expression. I am an adult. I transitioned like over a decade ago from, male expression to feminine expression under the care of 11 professionals who guided my path from male to feminine, which included hormones, testosterone blockers, an orchiectomy, which is the removing of the testicles, the radical surgery to change my male expression genitalia to a zero depth cosmetic vulva, to the hormonal expression of breasts with the tissue, and 11 professionals were guiding me through this because they were sure that this was going to alleviate my psychological distress. And it did not alleviate the core issues because it was a complete misdiagnosis. So if you're going to take a child and if you're going to put a child into a situation which people want to say, oh, these procedures are reversible, I can tell you as an adult, no, these procedures are not reversible. And I will tell you what comes with it. You are forever dependent. You are forever dependent on a medical system to supply you with a body chemistry which your body used to make normally. If you're not supplemented with these chemicals and hormones, there are parts of your mind which lose the ability to form bonds with people. And when I say bonds, it's like, let's see, during the COVID, because I would not wear a mask and because I would not take the prick, I was denied all medical care through the VA because I'm a veteran. I'm also a veteran of the Desert Storm, Shield, Saber, and Strike. So I had certain benefits with my service to this country. Well, because I would not comply under the Biden administration, I was not provided any medical care, and that included no hormones and no endocrinological support, which means I got to feel what it's like to have no chemical processes. I looked at my husband in a different way as just another person. There was no more spark. There was no more drive. I went numb. And I became even more psychologically imbalanced during that time. And not because of the stress of people saying, well, just wear the mask and go and let them put this stuff in you so you can have your life back. That's not what was stressing me out. It was the absence of my very natural processes being removed surgically and scientifically in order to provide an outcome I was ensured would correct my issues. So when we're teaching children that they can choose who they want to be when it comes to a gender expression and not tell them every other part of it, I don't think a child could possibly understand the gravity of what this choice and what this process and what the outcomes can be. In fact, people who have detransitioned, even though one cannot detransition, because when you remove body parts or add chemicals or subtract chemicals, there's no coming back from that. So detrans is in and of itself a lie.
And I have to say real quick here, absolutely spot on, because when it comes to these children, we have this thing called age of majority, and some states even set it at 16 and stuff when you can have this sexual stuff. But it's understood throughout the medical world that the mind is not psychologically mature until around 25 years of age. So they shouldn't be influenced psychologically in those kinds of manners at all. And again, that is the imperative of the parents to understand that. Because when we send our children out to these teachers, they have a different teacher in each different class, and they have each of those teachers has a different dichotomy of what they think about the world and their worldviews and stuff. And those all get impressed upon those children. Now, this is fractionalizing their psychology. Whereas if they maintain that majority of education at home, and they get that psychology and the sternness of that wielding hand of the belt, if you don't do what dad says, keep thine house in order. And that house never includes a government or a school or a medical society. None of them.
Well,
you keep that psychology more solidified by stabilizing the family. This is what's being destroyed, the family.
Hannibal Lecter says the truth is most adults can't grasp the devastating effect it has. And Howard says, yep, El Perro, compartmentalize, I can't even say it. Compartmentalizing, there it is. They are compartmentalizing them.
I have something to towards Kevin, and know that I say this with like massive sarcasm. This is one argument that has been made to me because I have argued this exact thing and basically told the school system this will not be part of conversation in school. It doesn't belong in there. That is something that needs to happen in the home or outside a government-based state facility, what have you. This is a personal decision. If people want to live their life that way, that is their decision, but it doesn't belong in school. Oh, well, the negative side effects only happen in certain cases to certain people, and we're not giving into what our children want and what our children need. And I'm just thinking, why? But that is one comment that is made. Oh, well, you're being insensitive, or that only happens in this case, or that happens only so often. No, actually happens a lot.
I think it happens too much. And I know that we're on YouTube and there are certain things we can't say. Can we say things in Spanish? Or do those get picked up as well?
Find a somewhat alternative word.
Okay, how about this? How about a name which, okay, how would I say this? I would say, how about the term unalived name?
There you go.
How cruel is it to take a child's, up until that point, the very foundations of who that child was, and I don't like saying was because I want to believe that that child always will have an is and then grow into a will be someday.
Mm-hmm.
You take that child's identity and now you radically alter while trying to maintain a foundation which can no longer be maintained because that foundation of self has to be obliterated internally and externally, and then build on it something that is only supported by a medical complex from that point forward, which means that that foundation is solely dependent on a medical system. Because without that medical system, that's the only way to maintain this after that. After you've done, like, especially after you've done a surgery or you've done a hormonal intervention, that person is going to be forever reliant upon a subscription service that someone has to pay for, because those things aren't free. And then plus all the maintenance. There's like a whole load of maintenance. And then you've got to deal with the increased cancer risk, the increased stroke risk, increased heart attack risk. You've got to deal with the, oh, this part's fun, guys. Did you know that it doesn't matter what age you are when you're doing the cross-sex hormones and such? The men who go to the feminine side are instantly put into a state of perimenopause.
Yep.
At any age. So you're now in perimenopause, which means that congratulations, you just took that stopwatch and you advanced it all the way to osteopenia. That's right before osteoporosis. So now your bones haven't even fully developed yet, and now you've got osteopenia. So congratulations, you never finished building your structure, and we're going to tear it down now.
That's what I wanted to hit on earlier, was that especially when we're dealing with like preteens, teens, like in that age group, it's already a very confusing time of people's lives normally, and adding in this other stuff just cloudies the waters even more. They're already vulnerable. So if you don't have like the proper resistance against this idea that they are whatever they're claiming to be, then there's really nothing to test it. You know, how serious are they about this?
But don't worry, Aunt. It's safe and effective. Just keep taking our shots. Trust us. Keep doing that, you know.
But that's where the argument that the clapback comes. Well, person A did this and they didn't have any issues and they didn't have to have any problems and they're perfect living their full life. But do you have this group of 16 people who are having to use daily dilators, who can't afford the hormones, who are having bone issues, who are having mentality issues? Oh, well, they don't matter. You know, we're not going to talk about them because this person right here, the person we want to focus on, is doing so well with their transition and so well with their side effects and their issues. Oh, that's who we're going to focus on. But let's ignore the people who actually are struggling with the decision that their adults in their life helped form, and instead of getting them the psychological help and, you know, really making them understand the magnitude of the life altering decision that they're going to make is what it's going to do to them, we're not going to pay attention to that.
When a female undergoes when a female with healthy breast tissue has that healthy breast tissue removed, not because of cancer, not because of lumps, not because of any of that, you're removing a lot of lymphatic tissue, which means that you're removing a significant portion of her immune system by doing that. That's
just like with women. So I can speak on this. Women who have endometriosis often end up having a hysterectomy. But if they are under a certain age, they will not remove the ovaries because it can send their body into direct immediate menopause, which leads into a whole other issue of high risk for cancer, high risk for bone issues, all of this, that, and the other. They will not do that. So they expect those ovaries to stay there because they continue to produce the hormones that they still need to maintain a healthy body until they are of a certain age. You cannot, and even if they say, well, you can replace it with hormones. Hormone replacement comes with its own risks altogether because you have the higher risk of cancer. You have all of these other risks because they are artificial hormones. Your body is not naturally producing them. So all of these people who are for this, but they're against this, you can't necessarily say that because you are still putting something that's artificial into your body and expecting it to work like the normal hormones will, and it won't do that.
Well, you know, we've got about 10 minutes left of the stream. I have to do some things around. I want to thank everybody for coming in. And yes, this is a hard topic. This whole thing with the ICE and, you know, our guest, Miss Mooney, Kevin's Chaotic Coffee from over on Pilled, El Perro, God's Favorite, and For the Win. I really much appreciate everybody being here. And, you know, again, this is a really hard topic that, you know, strikes home with me as well as a lot of other people, right? We have the replacement culture. Then we have educators becoming parents. And in my personal opinion, that's what we have come to in today's societal norms, right? We want educators to become the parents, and the parents just to provide the tax money to keep the educators in business. We once and we long for help in our own seecative nature. And what I mean by seecative nature is I'm not versed in what my child is saying. So I'm going to call the child's teacher, the guidance counselor, that may or may not have experience in certain topics. And they are expecting those quote unquote indoctrinated professionals to teach them what the parent cannot. I mean, everybody has a phone, or everybody has a tablet. Everybody has a computer or access to those. You can go to the public fucking library and you can sign up for an hour on the computer, right? And you can do a cursory search with any topic that you could possibly think of. But the way the world is, it's about that convenience. It's about that convenience of doing it. And I don't have time to go to the library because I get off at 9 o'clock and the library closes at 9 o'clock. So how am I going to go to the library? Well, you got a day off, right? Well, one's argument is, when my day's off, I'm still working because I'm working at home because I got to do this and I got to do that. It's an excuse. If you really want to support your children,
you find a way.
In their ideology, you will find a way to do it. You will find a way to support your children regardless of how rational or irrational those children or one may become or have become. I want to thank everybody for coming up here on the panel. Much appreciated it. We are going live on the Raging Tomato tonight. We have Brian Shapiro coming back. This is going to get interesting because Brian Shapiro is a complete and total libtard.
It'll be complete debauchery, so I'm excited for it too.
Kevin, I will send you the link if you would like to. You can stream it to your own platforms as well. Sarah the Raging Tomato invites that. You may or may not see me become angry and live up to my name, the Angry American, which I will not say a distruth and say I am definitely going to become angry like normal. And it is an ant. Oh, ant.
Yeah.
Would you join me in my tyrannical ways tonight?
I may hop up unless Sarah asks me not to, but I have no plans to repeat the last time Brian was on.
Oh, geez, that's right.
Oh no!
That's why I asked Ant the question.
No,
I was the Angry American. That is for sure.
Hey, look, had a bad night. I learned my lesson. I will be much better going forward.
Go ahead, El Perro.
There's better ways I can approach.
I gotta head out. Wish me luck at the city council meeting.
Hey, kill him, man. I hope you get it.
Yeah, I hope
We'll
you do,
see
sir.
everybody later. Be blessed.
Yep, you will.
God bless.
See here, El Perro.
Well,
See you
you guys should know me. I don't give a rat's ass.
And
That's why
you
I
know,
wear this.
and El
You can
Perro,
hate
I
it
have
all
to
you
say
want,
something to
but I'm
that
still
shirt,
gonna
sir.
say what's on my mind.
I have to say something to that shirt, sir. If all of us had the ideology of that, I think a lot of shit would be solved in the United States and America, and maybe even abroad. Until then, gentlemen and lady of the panel, we will see you later. Have a good day. Until next time, America. We'll see you
See you later. Bye.
Spin City. Spin City on the screen, got the room on 10. Breaking news, panel smoke, then he does it again. The bass in the morning, debauchery at night. He steps in loud and he don't back right. Clip it, post it, watch the chat explode. One more take, then he takes the road. He talks that talk with a grin and a stare. If the other side's talking, he already there. Hold up, here he comes. Hands in the air, let the verdict come. No more hush, no more shade. Spin City live and the whole place sways. Spin City, he don't play it safe. Spin City, bringing fire to the face. MAGA on the mic, and he says what he means. Spin City, shaking up the scene. Panels in a circle, everybody wants a turn. He leans in hard, let the hot takes burn. Protest on the ticker, riot in the thread. He talks over the chaos with a raised up head. Yell a little